Welcome back. Of course, a lot of investors will be focused on Salesforce earnings that will come after the bell tonight, not just to see the financial progress that company is making, but also because wondering whether, in fact, there will be anything associated with that does meet some of the hopes and dreams of the various activists who've been in this stock. It's a story we've been following for some time, of course. A long roster of activists, led in part by Elliott, because when it comes to Elliott, as I've said, it appeared for a while that they were at loggerheads, and then for a while closer to a settlement. What I can tell you now is that Elliott has nominated a slate of directors for Salesforce's board. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Elliott has nominated. Now, many people may not be surprised at that. We've been talking about this as a possibility for quite some time. The nominating window, by the way, closes on the 14th of March, so still a couple of weeks from now. Unclear if it's 2 or 3 nominees, likely to include Jesse Cohn, of course, who runs the activist practice at Elliott. Not been able to find the names, though, and can't confirm, in fact, even that Cohn is a part of them, although that is expected by a number of people who at least are close to the situation.
Wow.
But again, can't necessarily confirm that. Now, only about 2 weeks ago, I was reporting that the two sides seemed very close to a settlement. In fact, based on the reporting I had at the time, it appeared that they might get to one in the near term, even perhaps before earnings were released later today. That clearly not the case. And the question then becomes, well, will Salesforce accompany its earnings release tonight with language that in some way meets the hopes that and the ask that has been out there from any number of these activists? Started with Starboard Value, of course, and Jeff Smith in a CNBC interview last fall, indicating, hey, this is a company that should be a lot more profitable than it is.
But see these guys?
Yes.
And they're going to back Mark tooth and nail. They're going to just back him.
Well, to your point, there are 3 new directors who are being added today. Arnold Donald joins the board, Sachin Mehra and Mason Morfitt, of course, from Value Act, an activist, have joined the board. It's 13 members, but it is very conceivable at this point that they will be facing a proxy fight. It doesn't mean that will happen. And again, I would point people to tonight's earnings release and whether or not we get language associated with it that perhaps details hopes, Jim, that they do get to 30 to 35% margins as soon as possible is the hope of the activists here. Because incremental margins become very significant when you cut costs. They have begun cutting costs.
Right.
Mark Benioff has talked about a focus on margins ahead of revenue growth. That has been embraced by the activists. And there is a hope that they don't backslide. So certainly we're going to focus on the earnings tonight, not just to see the report card on the progress the company's making in terms of its profitability, but whether it includes with that some of the things the activists have been looking for. But this certainly brings up the prospect of a proxy fight in their future. Elliott would not have nominated if that was not a possibility. They do have a multi-billion-dollar stake. That includes a lot of swaps and options. So Salesforce may tell you, well, they're not even near the largest shareholder of the activists in our stock because they don't own that much common. But this is the way they do it. And, of course, if and when they needed to vote those shares, they could do so.